Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Joshua Nipper, the owner of Nipper Fence Company. And today I'm going to give you a peek behind the curtain because I know we've all been there a time or two. We need something done, so we ask somebody to come and give us a quote to complete that project. And then after we get the quote, we're shell shocked. We're like, whoa, what is this?
That's crazy.
Well, today I'm going to show you exactly why a fence costs what it costs and where the money goes once you purchase that fence. And then I'm going to give you a bonus tip.
Your bonus.
My bonus.
On what to look for in contractors when you're in the market for a fence. And then if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can figure out how much a fence will cost you in a matter of minutes. So let's go. Hi, I'm Joshua Nipper. After 26 years of Army service, I found a new mission, creating strong, beautiful wood fences that transform homes. Follow our channel as I share expert tips, inspiration, and the passion that drives everything we do. All right, so why does a fence cost what it costs?
At last.
Well, there are many factors to this question. And that's why when somebody asks, well, how much would it cost me to put in a fence in my yard? Well, I'm going to show you exactly what goes into that question. First, I have to figure out what the job's going to cost me.
What will it cost me?
To do. What is the cost of me mobilizing, going to your yard with the material, paying for the labor, and then completing the job? What does that part cost me? So that's the first thing I got to figure out. So I got to figure out the material costs. I got to figure out the labor involved with this project. And then once I get those two numbers figured out, then I can go in and figure out, well, how much overhead do I have and how much profit do I want to make on this job? So to simply put it is no two fences are alike, and no two fence companies will have the same numbers. I find it pretty funny a lot of times is whenever I hear a customer say, well, this fence company said they could do it for $200 cheaper or $1,000 cheaper or whatever the case. Well, that's fine. They have different numbers than what I have or what other companies have. So the first thing I got to figure out is what's the job going to cost me? And then once I figure that out, then I can tell you how much it's going to cost you.
What is it costing you?
So I'm going to show you a little PowerPoint slide here that will show you the different buckets of the money, where the money goes whenever we do a fence. So if you look at these buckets that I have listed here, we have 4 buckets. We have a material cost bucket, we have a labor bucket, which those two are considered cost of goods sold. Then we have a third bucket called overhead, and then we have a fourth bucket called profit. All right, so you add all these buckets up, and that's the total price of the fence. So in this example that I have here, this is a job that I pulled from one that I've done recently. And this is a 6-foot tall fence. This was an average on my 6-foot tall fences on what can be expected in each bucket. So material cost and labor essentially runs me about 67% of the cost of the overall job. Then overhead comes in 18%, and then what I have left over is 15% profit. So what does that look like number-wise? All right, so I just did a average, let's say $5,000 fence, okay? So out of that $5,000 total cost for a fence, the cost of goods sold is $3,350. So that includes material. Well, what's material? Material is your rails, pickets, posts, nails, screws, Anything that goes into building that fence, that's the materials. And then labor. The labor is what I pay for building that fence. So that goes into the cost of goods sold. So that's about 67% of that $5,000 is cost of goods sold. So that was $3,350 worth of material and labor. All right, and moving over to the overhead. So the overhead cost is 18%. So that comes in roughly around $900. Well, what's overhead? Well, overhead is everything that's not a direct cost to the job. They're indirect cost. So basically, it's like fuel for the vehicles, maintenance for the vehicles, rent or lease on the shop, uh, utility bills, insurance, taxes in there. So you have everything that you have to do to be a business goes into the indirect cost of the overhead. All right, so that still has to be paid. And then that leaves me roughly 15% profit left over, which comes in at $750 profit uh, on a 6 foot fence that roughly costs $5,000. Now, these aren't everyone's numbers, these are my numbers. So, uh, if you get a quote from another company and they have, you know, either charging way more, or way less, then you got to ask yourself some other questions on why it was a different quote than what you received from other companies. So let me get back to the other screen. So now that I kind of showed you exactly what goes into the fence and where the money essentially goes once you purchase that fence, I'm going to give you a couple of um, bonus tips, if you will, on what to look for in a contractor whenever you're in the market for a fence, or really what to watch out for in a contractor um, when you're in the market for a fence. The first one I have written down here is unrealistic low quotes.
So low.
Fences are not cheap. They're gonna cost. It's a pretty significant cost depending on the size of your yard. The bigger the yard, the more the fence will cost. So if you get a quote that's quite a bit cheaper than your other quotes that you have received, it should send up some red flags because they're cutting corners somewhere. They are not digging the holes deep enough that needs to go below the frost line. They're not using 60 to 80 to 90 pounds of concrete per hole, depending on the post size. They're not using enough concrete, so the, your fence will fall over down the road. So you gotta really ask yourself, dig into that quote, and dig into their past work, because if they're quoting that low, I'm sure that you can go and look at some of their other work and look at the quality that they're putting forward at that cost. Because at the end of the day, fence companies are in business to make money. We are here to provide a good product for the customer, and in the end, hopefully scratch out a little bit of profit at the end of the year so we can keep growing our business. So to homeowners getting these lowball quotes, I would just say steer clear. It's only going to cause you more money in the future when that fence falls over, and you're going to have a true professional fence contractor come out there and repair it. So that's my number one. My number two that I have is any contractor out there that tells you they have a price match guarantee. That should send up red flags right away.
Sure you know what you're talking about?
Because what a price match guarantee tells me is that company does not know their numbers. They cannot guarantee that they can price match another company's numbers when they don't even know their numbers. They don't know my numbers. They don't know their numbers. So how are they going to price match in order to make any money at all? So if you're getting a company says that to you. They are willing to lose money on a job to take business from other companies should send up red flags to you, because if they're losing money on the job, how much quality and workmanship do you think they're going to put in for it? So I would tell you that's my tip number 2. And then my tip number 3 is lack of transparency. You want a company that's going to be transparent with you. Exactly. They're going to tell you exactly every step of the process. If they have a question, they're going to answer it. They're going to return phone calls. If you send an email, they're going to return it as soon as possible. Those are the type of companies you want to work with. So the last part of the video here, I'm going to show you exactly how you can get a cost estimate for your fence in your yard in a matter of minutes. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to share my screen. And I'm taking you to Google Maps. Everyone's been on Google Maps before, right? So Google Maps is just a page that Google has that has, map there. You can type in the address, it'll bring it right up. And it has different layers you can view the map in. So what we're going to do here is I'm just right on Fort Wayne. I'm not going to go to any house in particular, but there's a box down here in the lower left called satellite image. I want you to click on it. It's going to bring up the satellite image of the area you're looking for. I'm just going to toggle over a subdivision here. So let's say you were looking for your house. You type in your address and it'll zoom you right in on your house. So what we're doing, we're just looking for a yard here. Let's do this house on the corner here. Right in the middle of the screen. All right, so what you want to do is you want to put your cursor where you want your fence to start. And then you're going to right click and a box is going to pop up. Go down to the bottom, measure distance. And it's going to put a point where you want your fence to start. And then go over here where you want your fence corner to be. And you're going to click, you're going to left click. And it's going to measure that point. Then you're going to go over here to the end, the next corner. And then over here to the next corner. And then so on until you get back to the edge of your house. I know that ain't a pretty fence line right there. I was kind of in a hurry. But as you can see, it measures it out. 213 feet. That's the fence line for this corner lot, this house. So now I know it's 213 feet. And Google Maps is accurate within 2 feet. So you can definitely use this as a pretty accurate point of reference. So 213 feet. All right, now the next step. Once you have your 213 feet, you're going to go to my website, nipperfences.com. And you're going to go up here to this tab, Pricing Info. You're just going to click on the tab. You're going to scroll down till you get whatever fence you want. I have it for 6 foot tall fence and also a 4 foot tall fence. And if you read through here, I have average per foot fence pricing that you'll probably never find on another fence company site, because they are so tight-lipped with their pricing that they're not going to tell you what it is.
This flapper, Fort Knox.
But I want to be as transparent as possible. I want to show you my average cost of a fence, because I think it only makes our relationship as a business to customer better. So let's say you want a 6 foot tall fence. So I gave you a range here of $24 to $33 per linear foot. Now, just to make a note on this, if you're 150 feet or less in fence, you're going to be towards that upper number. If you're over the 150, 200 feet of fence, you're going to be closer to the bottom number. So we're just going to pick a middle number here. We're just going to say 20 $27 per foot. That's what we're going to go. So I'm going to pull up my calculator here. And if you remember what the fence, it was 213 feet. So we're going back to the calculator. We're going to type in 213 feet times 27. And that fence would roughly be $5,751. And you did that in a matter of minutes. Now you know exactly if that is within your budget. And if it isn't within your budget, then definitely there's a button right here. Give us a call, or you can click this red button right here, learn more, and it'll bring you to a quote request page. You just fill out the information. You can put pictures on here if you'd like or not, and then you can hit submit, and then we'll get in touch with you and get your on-site quote scheduled. So there you have it, folks. That is the price of why a fence costs what it costs. The price, my pricing average.
Thank you so much. Hope you learned something.
So if you have any questions, you can find out more information on my website, nipperfences.com. Or you can give me a call at the number behind me, 260-797-4015.